All right. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you join in from all parts of Africa, Nigeria. Please type in the chat and tell us where you're joining in from. I am Abel Uchika, and I'm the National Secretary of ELTAN, English Language Teachers Association of Nigeria. Today, we are very glad to have three phenomenal conference presenters, share their experiences with us. The person of Dr. Ruth Oji will be moderating today's session. So she will introduce the other presenters of today's webinar. In a few minutes, I would hand over to her, and I'm very happy to do that shortly. Dr. Ruth Oji, are you there? So I can hand over to you to introduce our presenters.
Yes, I am.
All right. So welcome, everyone, and it's a pleasure to have you. Dr. Ruth, welcome. Please go ahead and introduce our presenters for the day.
All right, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, once again. The title of our presentation tonight is Writing an Effective Conference Abstract. And we're going to have this topic deliberated upon by Doctors Tina Anyanjor and Mustapha Tafarki. So I'd like to tell you a bit about each of them. So can I have the slide moved? All right, good. So Dr. Anyanjor is an experienced English language professional with a Ph.D. in the field. She is a multidisciplinary person, as she also has a master's in Humanitarian and Refugee Studies and a postgraduate diploma in Peace and Conflict Studies. Her interests include applied linguistics, language and gender studies, research, and public speaking. Tina has numerous outstanding publications in books, conferences, and reputable journals of both national and international standards. She is a lecturer at Imo State Polytechnic, where she has held many administrative appointments. In addition to teaching, she is currently the Assistant National Secretary of ELTAN. Please use your reaction buttons to welcome her. Okay, thank you very much. Now we're going to talk about our next presenter, who is Dr. Mustapha Abdullahi. He's a highly experienced communication specialist, researcher, and educator with over 17 years of experience in education, research, and project management. He holds a Ph.D. in English language teaching from Near East University, Turkey, Masters in Management of Language Learning from University of Greenwich, London, and has worked in various roles, including Program Manager at Kabara Tech Nigeria Limited, Executive Director at GPath Prime Essence Limited, IELTS examiner at British Council Trading Services, and lecturer at several institutions. Dr. Tafarki possesses skills in programming languages, data analysis software, and Microsoft Office suites, and has published several articles in local and international journals, attended international conferences, and received awards for his work. He is a member of several professional associations, including the Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria and the English Language Teachers Association of Nigeria. Now we're going to make welcome and hand over the floor to our presenters. Next slide, please. All right. So I'd like to invite one of the presenters to get us started.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, and thank you very much, Dr. Ruth Karachi Benson, for this your presentation of us. Well, this is a webinar, and two of us are presenting, and maybe just 15 minutes or 10 minutes per person. Then we it's going to be a kind of interactive session or discussion between us and our audience. So we have content, just like maybe around 26 slides. We have introduction to conference abstract, APA guidelines for abstract, key components of the conference abstract, writing tips and strategies, common mistakes to avoid when writing abstract, best practices for success, conclusion, and key takeaways from this webinar. So we assume that these contents are very important, considering that ELTAN is going to have a conference very soon, in a few months to come. And we are receiving abstract from various people. So we saw the need that we discuss this abstract because it's very important. So generally, an abstract is a summary of a research paper, article, or presentation that provides an overview of the main points, methodology, and conclusions. We see abstract as something that is very simple, but sometimes a bit that is find it very amusing that very some professionals make some certain mistakes when writing their papers. So because we are in humanities as language teachers, so we are subscribed to APA because we have different styles. So we are using APA, that is American Psychological Association. So in APA, the abstract is comprehensive summary of your paper in which you briefly address research problem. So in your abstract, you are supposed to address the problem in your research, the hypothesis you used, the method you used, the results and implication of that particular research. It is placed on a separate page right after the title page, and it's usually no longer than 250 words. Usually, we say usually because it depends on a journal or a particular institution request may ask you to write up to 300, 350, or even 400. But traditionally speaking, it is not expected to surpass 250 words. Most professional papers that are submitted for publication require an abstract. So abstract is something that whenever you have a paper, you must write an abstract. But for students, sometimes it's not needed, depending on the lecturer or depending on the institution. So what is the purpose of the abstract? Why do we use abstracts? Why do we have abstracts? So abstract just to summarize, to give a concise summary of the research or your presentation. So you have a paper, so we are supposed to give an abstract. That abstract will give people an idea or a general idea of what you are trying to present. So it is also an avenue where you entice your readers, their attention, and you encourage them to read further, because from the abstract, somebody can just decide not to read, or somebody will decide to read further because it is something that is interesting. So it's an avenue for you to entice either your viewers or your readers. So it is also to provide essential information about the research or presentation. You made an analysis, you made a research, you made an investigation. You want to inform the public of what informed your research and the implication you come about. An index, yes, help readers to determine the relevance of the research or presentation to their interest. So the readers, through your abstract, it will help to determine where research is important or not important. So APA abstract formatting guidelines. This abstract has guidelines, like I said, the word count, that is number one. You should know that it shouldn't be more than 250 words, ideally. Like I said before, some journals can give you maybe say 300, some 350, but typically speaking, an abstract guideline, you're not supposed to be more than 250 words. But for certain reasons, some journals can exceed that, or can even say.
Good evening. Good evening.
The next one is fonts. You're welcome, Doctor. My co-presenter is here, so you're welcome. The font size, use a legible font. We are expected to use a legible font. It's not every font that you are supposed to use. There are certain. Before this 7th edition of APA, we are only ascribed to use Times New Roman, but now this 7th edition allows you to use Times New Roman or Calibri and other fonts. Other fonts of 12-point size. You shouldn't make it 14. no 10, no whatever, it should be 12. That is a universal formula for the font size using APA. Then spacing. Traditionally speaking, you are supposed to space your abstracts. What I mean by double space, meaning that gap, it has to be that there should be space between the first line and the second line. That is normal, that is the general guideline of APA abstract. But in some journals, maybe like our ELTAN journal, you can decide to say, okay, you can make it single space. Yeah, just for us to have to minimize our space in the journal. So most of the journals sometimes do ask you to go for single space, but in student papers, research, theses, projects, mostly they'll ask you to do double spacing. So indentation, no indentation. Some people sometimes out of mistake, they just indent their abstract, which is not supposed to be. So you shouldn't indent, no indentation, just in the block. Then margins, you can use standard margins of 1 inch all sides. I mean, when you have your Microsoft Office open, so you look at the margins, you use your ruler, maybe some laptops, just go through your default. Maybe sometimes most of the laptops we use or desktop automatically at default, they have this 1 inch all sides. So then header, yes, typically speaking, when you have a paper, you are supposed to have what you call running head. Running head is when you have a title of the paper. Now, at the abstract and other pages, you are supposed to have what you call running head. That is shortened title. You just title a very short title of your paper. You put it on the top left corner of the page. This is typically the guideline of APA, but in journals, most of these rules are skipped or are changed. But this is just the general guideline of APA abstract formatting. So when you are going to format it, make sure you follow the APA or you follow strictly what the journal or what the institution asks you to do. Then the abstract should be indented 0.5 inches, like I said, on the left and the right margins, or 1.11. Then the text should be justified in block size. It shouldn't be aligned right or aligned left. It should be justified. Yes, in the middle. Just take your cursor at the middle and just justify it. Very simple. Then the next one is abstract should have a heading labeled abstracts. Yes, centered and in title case. Yes, some titles will be mostly, some titles are in cap, but in some cases, some titles are uppercase and lowercase. So we are going to see an example of that abstract later. So the center title on the page in uppercase letters, or as the case may be, just trying to elaborate more in the previous points. Then your content begin the abstract below the title without indentation. Like I would say, there should be, you shouldn't indent your abstracts. Even if your work is indented or your paper is indented, you are not allowed to indent it. You should make it justified, not aligned left or aligned right, but justified, and should be with no indentation. Then the abstract should not be italicized. Some people just make it in italics. So you cannot put it, it's only the keywords. When you have a keyword, it's one of the requirements that after writing an abstract, you write your keywords. Mostly, most journals, most papers, in fact, it is almost a general rule that you have the keywords in most journals. So it's only the keywords that are supposed to be italicized. No, don't put it in italics. Like even this conference, some people will receive some papers who just italicize the whole of abstract. That is very, very wrong. Yes, please, next slide. So we move on to best practices for writing. When you are writing, not even abstract, but the whole manuscript, the whole paper, the whole article, it has to be clear and concise language. That is a requirement. It's a must requirement, especially in APA, not APA, in all the styles, all the systems we use. We have to be clear and concise language. Make sure you use language economy. Yes. Then speak and accurate terminology, active voice, no citations or references in your Abstract, there shouldn't be any citation in the abstract. All the citations should be done in your work, in your general work, but shouldn't be captured in your abstract. Then we are also supposed to focus on key points and main findings. This is what will make your abstract to look very fantastic, very brilliant, and enticing to readers. I think, okay, let me just speak about this and I'll allow my co-presenter to continue. Including keywords in your APA abstracts, like we say, it is a must. It's a general requirement whenever you're writing an abstract. You have to put your keywords, choose relevant keywords. You have to choose the relevant keywords, select words that are, or phrases, not only words, you can even select phrases that accurately represent your research topic, methodology, and findings. All these things in 150 words to 250 words. Use specific terms, incorporate specific keywords from your field of study to enhance their discoverability. We are going to see that example later. Make sure the words are specific to your research. Yes, then limit the number. Don't just try to put 7, 8, 9, 10 words, no, or 7, 8, 9 phrases that would make it long. Just 3 to 5, at most 5 or 6, at most 5 to 6 words in your keywords. Then limit the number, then format, list keywords below the abstract, indented, but in your keywords, you have to indent. Remember, we said there shouldn't be any indentation when writing your abstract, but in writing keywords, you can indent. And I think we get it. After indentation, you should also put it in italics. So that is why some people have this mistake, thinking that it is required by the specific APA guideline that you indent your keywords. They misplaced it or they mistook it as a general guideline to indent and italicize your abstract. So keywords, this is just an example we gave on the top one, the right, green line. Keywords, you can see it, research methodology, statistical analysis, data visualization. You can see here, we have how many phrases? 1, 2, 3, just 3 phrases. Make sure when you are writing, if it's just word, for example, research, methodology, statistics, data, yes. But when you are using phrases, make sure you minimize it to 3 or 4 highest. So I think I will stop here for now. I will allow Dr. Tina Anyanjor to continue. Thank you very much for listening. We are going to come back again. Then later we are going to have an interactive session with our audience from wherever they are. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Mustapha, for that detailed presentation. Yeah, we are going to look at the key components of a conference abstract. And remember that we are talking about conference. Every writing, publication, journal, conference, they have abstracts. In this case, we want us to bear in mind that we are preparing our conference. And as we do that, we have our guidelines for writing. Dr. Mustapha has given a general guideline on the things to observe when writing. Now, if we look at the components of an abstract, in the first place, you talk about the research topic and the objectives. You've chosen your topic and you want to start writing. What do? You first of all go to the background, give a brief preview of the background of that particular topic. Whatever you are doing, remember your topic. That is what guides you in what you are writing. And when you've given a preview, you now go to your objective. It is important that you state the objective. Objective takes care of the research questions. Some people prefer to itemize the questions, but because you're limited on the number of words you are going to use in your abstract, so we suggest you use just a sentence, a unified sentence, to identify your objectives while writing your abstract. Because if you begin to look at the research questions, it will accommodate more space, and you don't have enough space to accommodate those things. So try to be as concise as possible when you are stating your objectives. Now, after you've stated your objectives, the next thing you look at the main issues of the problem. It should be encompassed in the objective, if possible. If not, you take another sentence and identify the main issues of the problem. Could you please go to the next slide? When you've done that, next slide, please. Now we look at the research methodology. This is where you describe your study, the participants. Already you've chosen your population. You tell us from this population, the participants, the sample you are taking, the size of the sample. How did you choose your sample? Did you use a random sampling? Did you choose them randomly or purposively or any other method? It is important that you state it at this point. Then some people, I keep saying that theoretical framework is very, very important when you are writing because it is the standpoint upon which you make your argument. It comes under the methodology. You need to state your theoretical framework. Some people ignore it when they are writing their conference papers or journal articles. It is very, very important, theoretical framework. So you state it under methodology, and then when you've done that, you outline the research methods. What methods are you going to use? Are you going to use a qualitative or quantitative or both? Mixed method is very important. You state it. Your method, data analysis. What method are you going to use in collecting your data before you begin to analyze? How are you going to collect your data? And what kind of data are you going to use? These things are very important. Are you going to use the method using questionnaires? Are you going to, is it combining it with an interview? Is it structured interview or unstructured one? It's important you state these things under methodology. Next, please. Next slide. So you now come to, after you've collected your data, you begin to analyze. Summarize the main findings in your analysis. Remember, you don't have enough space. So everything is put in simple and straightforward language and in a concise form. Make sure you have the main idea is retained while you are summarizing. You summarize your main findings, your main results. You describe the procedures you use in collecting your data, the technique you adopted. All these things, they all come under data analysis. Remember, all these things, they are part of the methodology. They are all part of the methodology. When you have given, you analyze, you tell us your findings. In a nutshell, the major findings, as a matter of fact, without going into much details. And then the significant trends or patterns in your study. Already you have, you are looking at maybe the students, societal problems, or academic problems. Now you tell us the implication on the sample. That is, its implication on the students, implication on the society, and implication, maybe the educational implication, as the case may be. It all depends on what you are writing. At the end of it, next slide, please. Next slide. When you've done that, then you go to conclusion. By this time, you've interpreted your results. From the interpretation, you give your conclusion. And the conclusion is just restating what you have done whether you've been able to achieve your objectives. That should be part of your conclusion. Outline the potential impact and contributions of the research to what we are doing. What your research must have a contribution to knowledge. It is important you state it at this point. That's it much we have to talk about on the major components. Then we talk about the writing tips and strategies. Clarity is very, very important. Clarity and concision. You have to use simple, straightforward language. This is not a time to use idiomatic expressions and all that. Avoid the use of jargon, technical terms, unless where necessary. And if you have to do that, there is need for you to explain. Your abstract has to be such that without it, because you are not going to be there, whoever that looks at it will know that of the truth. Yes, this person knows what he is doing. Then you look at the key sentences, use short, simple sentences. Most times, simple sentence, compound sentence, it could be used. Do not go into long sentences. You break them into bits. Then there is need for you to use active voice. Very, very important. Avoid as much as you can reported speech. Choose words that convey enthusiasm and interest. Your abstract, remember, it has to be captivating. It is what makes the reader know whether he will go further to look at what you've written if it is presented to the person at that very time and moment. Then you use action words to describe your research findings. Use action words. As a matter of fact, I want to state here that during analysis, that is when you bring in your theoretical framework, because it is your theoretical framework that you are going to use to analyze your data. Now, proofreading and editing, check for clarity, coherence, and flow. Your writing must flow. It has to make sense. It has to flow from one to the other. Remember, try as much as you can to use the cohesive devices. It helps to make the writing to flow. Carefully review your abstract for grammar. Avoid grammar mistakes and spellings. I always advise people, there is no
I think we have lost Dr. Anyanjor.
Yes, I think she was speaking about proofreading and editing, checking for clarity, coherence, and flow. That after writing an abstract, you have to carefully review the abstract for grammar mistakes and spelling errors, editing to ensure that abstract meets word counts. Thankfully, your laptop will just give you that one where you use the Microsoft. You can just count the number of within a second or so seconds. Then you also formatting requirement, because it depends on the journal or on the institution, the requirements that institution or they prefer. So you have to make sure that you follow the requirement. Let's move to the next slide, please. Yes, there is what we call...
Yeah, I was disconnected. Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. It's
Go
network.
Ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are certain common mistakes one has to avoid. Such mistakes include unclear research question or purpose. You have to state your purpose clearly. It's the purpose that guides the reader, and it is the purpose, that is your objective, that guides you in the stating of your research questions and in solving the problem. Very, very important. When your questions are poorly stated or your purpose is not clearly stated, you run into trouble. At the end, you won't say that actually you've succeeded in your research. It will be difficult for you to give a good conclusion. Poorly structured abstract is difficult to follow. Whoever that is reading it might not be able to follow the narrative. Let's see the next slide, please. Insufficient detail and poor writing. Too vague or general writing. When your writing is too open that one cannot say exactly, look at what this person is writing. Avoid vague writing. And whenever you are giving your examples, try to be specific. Specific. Supporting evidence is very important. Don't generalize, be specific in your examples. Avoid a weak or unengaging writing style. Remember, your abstract has to be captivating. When you get involved in these common mistakes, it could be discouraging to the reader. Grammatical errors and spellings, try to avoid them. Typographical errors, spelling mistakes. We have things that can help us to check errors in spellings and all that. Make sure be conscious of the tense you are using. Most times when you are writing abstract, for instance, for an abstract, you are presenting it, you are not presenting your paper yet. In the case of a conference, for instance, you try to be futuristic in the use of the tense because you've not concluded. It is assumed you've not concluded. So you are telling us what you are going to do. And for that reason, you don't need to use the past tense. If you can't use the future tense, it's better you use the present tense, but not the past tense. When you are writing an abstract, like in the case of ELTAN conference, you are submitting it for us to have an idea of what you intend to do. So you've not concluded at all. It is assumed you've not concluded. We are yet to see it. It is when you are presenting the main paper that you change the tense of your abstract because you have already concluded. Punctuation marks, please observe them, especially as we are English language teachers. It is expected that we do these things. We should adopt the best practices in language. And we look at keywords, incorporate your keywords from your research. Dr. Mustapha has said that keywords are very important. From some abstracts we have received so far, we observe that some people, is it that they forgot or they didn't know? I don't know. But I know that by the end of this webinar, such mistakes will not be made again. Please, keywords are very important. Keywords are the key words that appeared most commonly, generally, in all the parts of your paper. Very, very important. You state it, he has told you. Keywords, we always say maximum 6. And the minimum of, there's nothing wrong about you writing 2, 3, or 4 keywords. Use terms that are commonly searched in your field, commonly searched terms in your field. Remember, you are talking about a particular area. Use terms that are common in such areas. Someone that is writing a paper on syntax, and someone who is writing a paper on phonology. The terms you are going to use are different. So restrict yourself. This is just an example. Restrict yourself to the terms common to what you are writing. And enhance discovery and indexing. Let what you have written help the reader to know whether this particular, from what I have read from the abstract, has it told me that I need this particular paper for whatever? Don't assume you are ending up throwing in an abstract for us to know that, yes, you are ready to attend the conference. No. Bear in mind that your abstract will help a reader when your paper is ready and we have, for instance, it is published maybe in Proceedings or in a journal, that your abstract, when someone reads it, the person will know whether that particular topic is relevant to him or not. Very, very important. Go to the next slide, please. best practices for success, highlighting significance and impact. Clearly state your research significance. Significance is important. I mentioned before that when we are writing, when you are in a research, there are problems you have to solve. It could be social problems, it could be academic problems, it could be human problems. And these things are very important. The beneficiaries from this outcome, it is important you state how it is going to benefit them in the significance. Very, very important. How is your study significant to the society, to the persons involved? Is it the students or maybe to the academia? Very, very important. You need to state the significance of your study and clearly state the research significance. Very, very important. You need to do that. And again, just like I said, the relevance of your work, you need to showcase the relevance and the importance. Next, please. Next slide, please. Emphasize originality and contribution to knowledge. As a matter of fact, we all know that there is nothing you are going to write that someone has not written on it before, but there is need for you to be original in your writing. Something must show. There must be something different from what has been written. The one you are writing, something must be different from that. What is new? What new thing are you telling us in your writing? It's very, very important. Highlight what sets your research apart from the previous ones. You have done your literature review, you've sourced materials and all that. You notice that most of those things center on what you are writing. What makes your own different? What sets it apart from what others have done? You know, you need to emphasize the unique contributions and insights people need to gain from what you've done. Demonstrate how your research advances the field of knowledge. They are all saying the same thing. Next slide, please. At the end, summary of the key points. I wouldn't know, by the time we finish this, please, Dr. Mustapha, you get ready, you give them a sample, illustrative example, so that we'll drive home what we are saying the more. So in summary, at the end of it, you summarize your work, recap the main ideas, essential components of writing, and everything. And at this point, may I invite Dr. Mustapha to come up with an illustrative example of what is required from us. Let him give us an example of a crafted, compelling abstract that will guide us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anyanjor. Is Dr. Mustapha still here? Okay. Looks like he may have been taken out by the network. Do you have the said document to continue, ma'am? Dr. Anyanjor.
Yeah, let's go to the takeaways while we wait for him.
All right, great.
He promised he will bring it. Yes. Yeah. Now, the takeaway, let's go to that slide, takeaway. You know, I want to tell us that a well-written abstract is crucial for research, visibility, and success. At this level of education, we find ourselves, we impact on students, we teach and do that. There are certain things that are expected of us, especially as English language teachers. We are expected to adopt the best practices in writing. Once it comes to writing, a language teacher is expected to come up with the best. Those of us here in language and literature, we could excuse those in the sciences, but not those in language. And so make sure you adopt the best practices, include essential components, your research topic, methods, results are very important. I really want to reemphasize that the key components of an abstract is a background of what you are going to write. To give us a brief background in 1 or 2 sentences, you go to the objectives, state your objective. Then if you have a theoretical framework, very important. Remember, objective is what will help you in solving the problem. Then you state your theoretical framework, methodology. Some institutions, they encompass a methodology and a theoretical framework, because under methodology, this is where you are going to, that is when you are analyzing your data, that's when you bring in your theoretical framework. So these are components. Then from the methodology, you tell us participants, your sample, how did you choose your sample, what sample size are you going to use, what method did you use in collecting your data and all that. Then analysis, how are you going to analyze your data, your results, how did you get to that, what is your finding or your findings, and at the end, you conclude stating the significance of what you have done. Remember, use clear and concise language in active voice and all that. And define your abstracts for maximum impact. Use relevant keywords for discoverability. Very, very important. Let us see the next slide, if there's any necessary thing we need to do there. Okay, this is a typical abstract.
Okay, I see that Dr. Mustapha is back. I want him to take over.
Okay, he's back. Okay.
Dr. Mustapha.
Okay. Dr. Mustapha, yeah.
Yes, I'm with you. I think she can continue.
She had called on you to take
Okay.
abstract. Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
Could you please zoom it a little bit? Now, look at this. If you have a look, say an investigation of studying. An investigation of studying. Permit me to read before I identify the essential. Okay. Medical school in the United States is an intensive 4-year experience that requires students to study for several hours each day. Some medical schools have developed study skills programs to help students keep up with their coursework. Recent research has been conducted on the impact of such study programs on academic performances, but there is little investigation into the effect of study skill program on medical students' mental health. This study examines, now look at the background, how the background is given. It is telling us, looking at this, we are looking at, without being told, you know that it's talking about medical students, the study hours and all that. If you look at it, the study programs and the academic performance. And it goes to tell us that there is little investigation into the effect, shortfalls of the study skill program on medical students' mental health. In other words, there has not been expansive studies on medical students' mental health program. Now it goes to tell us, the next one tells us what the work is going to do. So this study examines study skills program in 4 medical schools in the United States with a focus on their effect on students' mental health. This is just the objective of the study. The objective of the study. After the background review, the objective follows. Students participants responded to a series. Sorry, it's tiny, that's why I'm taking it one word after the other. Students participants responded to a series of semi-structured qualitative interview questions regarding the study it has gone into the methodology section. It is telling us at this point what is to be done. Students participants responded to a series of semi-structured qualitative interview. Look at it, he used semi-structured interview. Semi-structured, this is a qualitative study, semi-structured interview. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Ruth Oji, for zooming it. The research suggests that study skills programs have a positive impact on students' levels of self-confidence. He used just a single sentence to tell us how it was carried out. Method of data collection, semi-structured qualitative interview, no questionnaires. And he goes to the result. The findings suggest that study skills programs have a positive impact on students' levels of self-confidence, depression, and anxiety. More research is required. It has given us the finding. Now look at it. More research is required to understand the relationship between the study skills programs and levels of stress. Overall research findings support the development of study skills programs in medical students throughout the United States. So this is the finding, and then the conclusion. It has affirmed that there is need. The report shows there is a support for the development of study skills programs in medical students throughout the United States.
Look at how,
yes, and then with it you have the keywords: medical school, study skills, study, academic performance, and all that. So this is just a typical sample abstract that could help anyone or guide anyone in writing an abstract.
Thank
Dr. Mustapha, I wouldn't know if you have to say before we go into the question and answers.
Okay, any last thoughts from Dr. Mustapha before we take the Q&A?
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Ruth, and thank you very much, Dr. Tina. I believe with this last slide, where we have a typical example of our abstract, like she has explained, somebody can just briefly, summarily understand how good it is to have a very good abstract. Like you see in the abstract, all the mistakes we have been talking about, there shouldn't be no indentation, there it should be double spaced, no italicized, keywords having not more than 3 or 4, and stuff like that. So I think it is from this last slide we are able to capture all what we have been talking about. It should be clear and concise, direct, talking about, look, even the running head is there captured. So everything that you need to know about the abstract, these are the typical example of an abstract we give. We are having this while we are having this seminar or webinar, is just for us to make sure that the next conference we are having, people are writing the abstract submitting to us. They should make sure that they abide by all the rules and regulations of writing abstracts. So when writing abstract, it is generally recommended to use the past tense, like somebody was asking a question, for the research that has been completed, and the present tense for general truth. So we are only to use the present tense when you're talking about the general truth or ongoing research. However, the specific tense may be very dependent on research status and journal guidelines. For example, you are to use past tense when you are, for example, completed research. For example, this study investigated the phenomena, quote unquote. Or you can only use present tense when you are saying use for general truth or ongoing research. For example, this research demonstrates that blah, 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 you continue. But using future tense, that one is a no-go area for researchers. So we should make sure that we avoid using future tense. Most of the tense we use is because it's a research which has been completed or is ongoing. So therefore it should be past tense and present tense. In abstract, mostly we use past tense. So thank you very much. And before the questions, this webinar, meaning crafting an effective conference abstract, we discussed the key elements, tips and best practices for writing abstracts, how to go. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mustapha and Dr. Anyanjor. Really appreciate your very beautifully detailed presentation, and I'm sure everyone else agrees. We have a few questions that I would like to run by you, and I like that your very last comments started to kind of respond to one of the questions that were asked. And I was going to also start by asking that question as to whether it was sacrosanct that we use the past tense in the abstract, considering that sometimes some conferences will already require you to submit your work in advance. So in that case, what do you think? What would be the language of the abstract? If you can quickly respond to that, then I'll move on.
Yes, thank you very much. Just like I said, when the research is completed, you must use past tense. For example, this study investigated the phenomena of blah, blah, blah. That means if the research is completed. But when the research is not completed, it's ongoing, because we have different types of research, especially in this longitudinal research. We are given a report before the end of your the terminal end of the research activity. Then you use, or you are using general truth or conclusion. For example, you can say this research demonstrates, use a kind of present tense. So mostly we use past tense, but in some cases we use present tense. I hope I have answered that question.
All right, thank you. Let's look at other questions. Somebody is asking here, based on best practices highlighted here, can you make use of Grammarly to add impact to your write-up?
Well, I think now is the truth. Most people, especially most students, even developed countries and even here in Africa, they use certain ways to make sure they manipulate their work. And Grammarly, I don't seriously recommend for my students to use Grammarly all the time, because it will make them lazy, it will make them inactive and not the kind of creative. Yes, because the Grammarly will just give you everything just like a leakage, honestly. So, and yes, it helps. It kind of helps. Yeah, journals like Web of Science journals, they have their own language, they have their own style. Even if the grammar is okay, the way you use the language is what matters. So sometimes somebody will just frown. Why? I send my paper, very good paper, but it has been rejected. It's rejected because of the language you use, not because of the quality or because of the substance of your research or your investigation, but maybe because of the language. So maybe if the reviewer is kind enough, we'll just ask you to reconstruct your grammar. So sometimes, yes, Grammarly helps, and sometimes they charge money, up to $300. I've seen somebody being charged $300 just for a particular research. Believe you me, that person, even after the payment, couldn't scale through, and he has to bring his paper to somebody, his colleague, who has actually pinpointed some of the mistakes, and before you know it, once submitted back, it was accepted. So Grammarly it helps, but I don't normally recommend it for students.
All right. Thank you. Next question. What differentiates methodology in language and literature in terms of research? If you do understand what that means.
Am I going to answer, or shall I leave it to Dr.?
Yes, I mean, either of you could answer if Dr. Anyanjor would like to.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Let's hear you, ma'am.
Okay, yeah. Methodology in language, as a matter of fact, and in literature, most times I think this literature question would have been better answered by literature, those with literature affiliations. But that notwithstanding, for literature, you know, most times what it's always a kind of a literary analysis. I don't know whether my president is here. Literary analysis, they go to discourse analysis, trying to analyze whatever you do, whether literature or language, methodology is important because you must tell us how you arrived at your findings, how you arrived at your results. You carried out a method, you adopted a method in doing that. Whether it is language or literature, methodology is important. What differs is now because there are two different fields of the English language and literature. So the different methodology is adopted because of what one is writing for literature and for language. But for the both, methodology is very important.
All right, ma'am. Can you quickly respond to question of if a research is based on a collection of relevant literature based on earlier studies conducted, what the tone of the abstract should be like? So this person's research is based on a collection of relevant literature that focuses on earlier studies. What should the tone of the abstract be like? In 30 seconds, ma'am.
In this case, yeah, in that case, it is a descriptive study. It is a descriptive study, and the data in this case, it could be primary data or secondary data. Do you understand? And there is need for the person to state whether it is secondary data based on maybe literature, previous studies and previous researches, and setting some sources where the person got the information. You know, that is empirical studies and theoretical studies. It's very important. So in this case, for someone who is not carrying out any survey and all that, is a descriptive study. And there is need for the person to state that, look, my data is based on written works,
all right, ma'am.
empirical studies, and all that.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry, time is up, and I'll have to hand over now to our secretary, Mr. Abel. Over to you, please.
Thank you so much for the erudite conversations, happening tonight. It feels like we shouldn't, stop. But we promised that it was going to be an hour webinar, so we'll not keep people hanging in for too long. Well, thank you very much, presenters, Doctors Ruth, Dr. Anyanjor and Dr. Mustapha. Thank you so much for your presentations, and I'm really excited that as a community we have, people like you helping others to grow. And this is what ELTAN is all about, promoting professional development and good practice. For those who have more questions, we have a vibrant social media community on WhatsApp and on Telegram. You could send your questions there. We'll continue these conversations over there. And if you are not yet a member of the association, please log on to our website, www.eltanigeria.org. I'll type it now in the chat so that you can just go there and be a part of the association. And then there are so many materials you can also get when you get to the website. You can also submit your abstracts for the conference. The flyer of the conference is on the website. All the information you need to know about the conference is on the website as well. We're hoping to see more quality abstracts after this webinar. If you go to our WhatsApp platform, You can always share information and ask questions if you need clarity. Okay, I have the president. Maybe he can say a thing or two just to greet everyone before we sign off. President Dr. Edigbe, are you here, please? You could say a word.
Good evening, everyone.
Yes. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to have all of you here in the webinar. It has been really captivating. I want to thank our two presenters and say thank you very much. I think this abstract, the webinar on abstract writing it comes at a time when we are preparing for our conference, and I think beyond the conference, it's also very important for everyone. Like somebody asked, and Dr. Anyanjor reiterated during our presentation, I just want to talk about the fact that methodology is common to both literature and language, because that is actually the kernel of the matter. The most important thing about it is that having the knowledge to know which is appropriate for the study which you have on hand. I think that is very, very important for us. So as we get ready for our conference, let us make use of the website, because our website now has a link for you to submit your abstract. So we don't have any email where you send it to, but we receive the abstract through our website. So for everyone who is with us tonight, try as much as possible to register. Even the payment for the conference is also through the website. So it is website based, and it helps us to manage everything properly. So I want to say thank you once again for joining us. God bless you. Good night and bye-bye.
All right. Good night, everyone. I see somebody is asking a question about our handle on Telegram. I'll just share it with you just now so that you can go there and be a part of what is going on. But the easiest place to get information about the association is on our website, and I'm currently sharing my screen on the website so that you know that we are really interested in helping and connecting with anyone who is truly interested in professional development. All right. So without any much conversations, yes, please. Who is trying to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Bell, for that. I really appreciate it.
I'm the one, Mr. Bell.
Yes, please.
Permit me to inform everyone. Please, when you submit your abstract, try to be checking your email to see whether you have a response from us.
All right.
Some people, once they submit, they go home, they think it's ended. We could have gone through your abstract and found out something that you needed to correct. So once you submit your abstract, be checking your mail once in a while to know whether there is a mail there for you to know what to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right. It's a wrap from us tonight. Thank you so much for joining in, and we hope to see you next webinar, which will be the third Sunday of the month of March. Sorry, on the month of May. I'll see you soon, and have a great week ahead. I know many of you are already preparing to get to work, so see you next week, next month, I beg your pardon.